Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to take a look at the changing political landscape of the Scottish independence campaign, which for the past few years has been driven by Brexit and Westminster government corruption, which of course are both the brainchildren of the Conservatives, and wonder if Alex Salmond is going to shift the dynamic a little bit. The former leader of the SNP may well end up derailing the movement, as some on this side of the border are thinking he may. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So the problem for the Conservatives now in charge of the country is that they're a little bit thick. They wanted the UK out of the EU, but they also wanted the UK to remain much as it is now. However, all of the arguments that were used for leaving the EU, both the true ones and the lies, work just as well for the notion of Scotland leaving the UK. Wales and Northern Ireland as well, as it comes to it. Actually, while we're at it, why not just split up England up into the 7 kingdoms again, be done with it? But like the old days when we were just a mass of warring tribes at the mercy of foreign invaders. But anyway, the point is that the Conservatives have absolutely no way to counter the momentum that Nicola Sturgeon's SNP have built up for another independence referendum. What is it that has given the Conservatives a little bit of hope this year? Alex Salmond knackering his own campaign. You know, they try and talk about the benefits of union, and an independence supporter will respond, well, that's not what you said when you were talking about Brexit, is it? Ah, yes, but that's different, you see. Oh, yes, how? It just is. Now, I've said before that just because there's a bit of modest but still consistent support for independence in the polls doesn't mean that a referendum would return a decision to break up the UK. There's people that go, but it's been like that for over a year, Phil, it's consistent. Yeah. I mean, it might, but what people need to consider is that the argument is all one way right now. The SNP and other Scottish nationalists are making the case regularly for independence and using the damage caused by the current Westminster government as a strong drumbeat for the cause. What we don't have is the counter-argument. Boris Johnson has attempted to cack-handedly respond, but there's no coordinated campaign. I know he has a unit that's supposed to be dealing with this, but it is staffed by idiots. Their latest trick is to take powers away from the Scottish government for themselves in an attempt to control more Scottish funding. This has the effect of being able to claim credit for spending in Scotland. They've thought to themselves, right, the problem is here that the Scottish government is handling the finances better than we are. So I know we'll take some of their spending power away and we will spend that money, and then we get to say that we are providing the funding for that. They think that that will help their cause. Now, I mean, it might, but the problem is it's also very easy to highlight this behaviour as taking powers away from Scotland and deciding things hundreds of miles away in the south of England. When the referendum comes, those in favour of independence will be able to argue very easily that independence will mean that Scots get more say over Scottish affairs. In fact, 100% of the say. Now that itself won't be true, just like we don't get control back with Brexit. But certainly it won't be decided in Westminster. After all, inside the UK, they're getting less and less say on these matters. Bear in mind that one big reason people in England voted for Brexit was a lack of voice. We have no devolution in England. The Conservatives point to elected mayors, which is weak at any time, but the past year has shown how weak. Because when the Conservative government haven't liked what a Labour mayor has been doing, they've simply stolen their powers. It's not devolution if you retain control centrally. That same mindset is being encouraged in the Scottish independence debate with this power grab. But speaking of the Brexit referendum, there was another factor. I mean, there were lots of individual reasons for voting Brexit, and perhaps no single one of them was huge, but the result was so narrow that any individual one could have made the difference. For example, David Cameron, Prime Minister at the time, led the campaign to remain in the EU. I think we'd have done better if he hadn't. Not only was he crap at campaigning, but he was really hated in parts of the north of England. People talk about all these leave areas in the north being because of xenophobia, and certainly that has stoked a great deal of it. But a significant slice of the vote, and remember it didn't take much to swing it, was put down to simply wanting to piss off Cameron. Austerity really hurt people up here, and he was responsible. Well, now we have a similar situation in the Scottish independence campaign. Alex Salmond, former leader of the SNP, has come back to haunt them. He started his new Alba party. And I said at the time that it was being constructed in such haste that it's quite probable that some candidates will emerge that will have skeletons in their closets. And it didn't take long for one to emerge. Unfortunately, the tweet has since been removed. I can't access it anymore and I didn't clip it. But one of the candidates in the past had been slagging off Scottish fishermen. Not necessarily a great look for someone wishing to enter Scottish politics. But that's what happens when you don't have time for a proper vetting process. But Alex Salmond and his new party now run the risk of derailing the independence movement. And supporters are genuinely concerned. See, here's the thing. I've seen a lot of vocal supporters for Scottish Independent commenting a lot about Salmond not being relevant in politics anymore. I'll say that again. Commenting a lot about Salmond not being relevant in politics anymore. By definition, if someone is commenting a lot about you, you're relevant. When you lose relevance, people stop talking about you. That's how it works. That's what relevance means. Especially in politics. It is an attempt to decouple Salmond from the wider campaign for fear of the baggage that he is bringing with him and his potential to put off voters. He was at it again this week, wasn't he? Saying, there's not really very much evidence for Russian interference in the Trump's election. What else was he going on about? Oh yeah, he wouldn't even blame Russia for Salisbury. That was it. And politics is often divisive enough in life. Even before the extreme political landscape that emerged in Britain a few years ago. And people like to be on a side. And they want to feel that those on their side are the good guys. We're the good guys. Of course, this often isn't the case. For example, Boris Johnson is one of the most wicked prime ministers we've had in modern British history. I oppose him on Brexit, on domestic policy, on wider international policy, and on most of his coronavirus policies. In fact, quite frankly, I oppose the fact that he's not in jail. But at some point, there will be another Scottish referendum. He will argue for remaining in the UK. I would like the Remain side to win. On that point, I will be on his side, won't I? I don't have to back all the rubbish he'll spout, but I'll be on that side. But there are people who can't really be pragmatic about a situation like this, nor can they see that you'll often have good and bad people on either side of any debate. Bad people can argue for good things if it's in their own self-interest, and good people can argue for bad things if they think that the good outweighs the consequences. You know, ends justify the means and all that. But there are people who don't think that deeply. They will see someone they don't like in Alex Salmond calling for people to vote for something where the promise is fantastic, but it means a big permanent change. Wasn't Brexit a big permanent change where people were promised wonderful things and the ability to take back control? Oh, how did that work out? Alex Salmond really could be a previously unexpected problem for the Scottish independence movement. SNP supporters clearly think so. I also saw reports suggesting that the Conservatives also think so. Westminster ministers are supposedly hoping that this will be the case, either by splitting the nationalist vote or just by putting off less committed voters from being prepared to support such a change if their confidence in those delivering it is shaken. The Financial Times quoted a Tory strategist saying that Alex Salmond's Alba party should be called the Albatross Party. It's rather good, actually. But they need it to be. They have no other credible plans to preserve the union, like I said. The problem is, every single argument that there is for Scotland to remain is the anti-argument for Brexit. The intelligent members of the party knew that they were risking the breakup of the UK in tearing us away from the EU. They accepted that risk. Some have even since come out and said, well, it's not a big problem if it happens. It's only the imbeciles that thought that they could have it all, that believed in the contradictions. They could never have predicted Alex Salmond's dubious return to frontline politics. There were so many twists and turns that led to that it would have been impossible to foresee, I think. But there we are. We'll first of all need to see what happens next month in the Scottish elections. Although it was arranged in such haste, I'd be amazed if it has a significant impact. But we will see. And then we will see if Salmond persists with his new party long term, regardless of what happens next month. Maybe he'll fail very, very hard. It's not like there's been much preparation, as I say, and then just fade away. Time will tell. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.